Good evening, everybody. We're going to get going very shortly. If there's anybody's just jumped onto our YouTube stream, I can't actually see the chat, but you're more than welcome to join us in our live webinar. You just need to register. If you'd like to register, then I will just put up the registration page. So the registration page is at acy.com education webinars, and you just need to go along and register on this webinar to join us. So that's for you if you're in the live YouTube stream. Why not join us so that you can chat to us as well? Okay, we're going to get going in a couple of minutes. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to come into the room. Okay, everybody, thanks for your patience. Welcome to this evening's ACY Securities webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. Thanks very much for attending. Whilst I'm waiting for just maybe for a few more people to arrive, we'll just go through a bit of housekeeping. You could read through the risk disclaimer. And as we're going through the webinar, if you have any questions, just type into the question and answer box. I've got the chat box open too, but questions to the question box is always helpful. And tonight we're going to go through a live market analysis. If you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor at ACY Securities. I'm a full-time trader. Been trading for a number of years now, more than 15, and been mentoring clients for more than 10. If you need to contact me about the education at ACY Securities, you can get me at duncan.cooper@acy.com. If you want to follow me at the acy.com website, you'll catch me on the Market News tab, ACY Securities Australia YouTube channel, and you can personally connect with me on Twitter and LinkedIn there. And also a new thing we've started to deliver at ACY Securities is a Telegram channel where I'm posting some analysis every day based on the analysis tools that I teach in the webinar series. So if you'd like to get access to that, or at least like to have a look at it, first of all, just email Nathan Bray. So it's nathan.bray@acy.com, and he will get in touch with you and organize that for you. All right, just on the beginning of our webinar series, tomorrow evening, I'm going to be going through market trends, 8 p.m. Sydney time. Next week, Tuesday, we'll be going through on trend lines. Next week on Thursday, going to go through pivot points. Last night went through support and resistance. So that's what's coming up in the education webinars. Tomorrow evening, Thursday, 8 p.m, I'm going to go through market trend and how to determine that. And I will be determining trend tonight, but I'm not going to really explain how I do it. I'm just going to be talking about what I think the trend is, and you might be able to grasp how I'm doing it, but I will go through the nuts and bolts of defining market trend tomorrow evening. All right. Let's get to my charts. Now you're going to see that my charts do look a little bit different to the ones that you can download from the ACY Securities website. So if you'd like to get my charts, just going to give you a link or two. First link is for a file to download. I'm going to give you Nathan's email address if you want to get access to the Telegram service. There we go, giving you the links there. And if you want to upgrade to my charts, then you need to download, get to my desktop. You need to download this file, MT4 webinar configuration file. You need WinRAR software to open it up. Double click on it. Inside, there are some folders that need to be moved to the MT4 platform. So just play this 2-minute video. I show you exactly how to do it, and then you'll have it done. So what you'll get is it doesn't delete anything that you've already got in the platform, but in the templates menu, it will add in these 4 templates, 1, 2, 3, 4. On the toolbar, a few extra buttons will get added in that I use. Down here in the profile section, you'll get these 1, 2, 3, 4 profiles of mine. Tonight, I'm using 12 pairs, okay? And before we move along, just on the analysis front, the Telegram service, which I'm just going to open up. You'll see I actually did a couple of posts today highlighting a good level of resistance on the dollar-yen, maybe to trade down from if that level held. It did actually hold. The level was 114.68 to 72. Price did trade through there a little bit, maybe about 5 to 10 pips, but then after holding, it reversed. And also here on the Aussie yen, I was highlighting the central pivot point that could act as strong resistance, and it did it earlier in the day, hold there to move down. So what I'm doing in the Telegram service is I'm not giving you an actual buy price, stop price, limit price. What I'm doing is I'm showing you how I'm coming up with my key levels of support or resistance, my trading levels for the day, highlighting some of the ones that I think are potentially very good for the day, and then you can make your own trading decisions as to whether you want to trade around those levels, depending on what you see price do when price gets to those levels. Also, I'm discussing support and resistance and trend, and where I think price might be going to in terms of a target if it does turn around, and hopefully that can help you with your own learning experience as you develop as a trader. All right, so again, if you want to get access to that, just give Nathan's email address in the chat, and you can email him. All right, let's get to the charts. I just want to click around first of all. That was that move down from the central pivot point earlier in the day that I highlighted as maybe a good level of resistance, and that has moved down, running back at the moment. Just want to see what's going on before we get into doing a top-down analysis on some of these pairs. And what we're experiencing at the moment is yen strength across the yen pairs. US dollar strength too. All right, we'll start with the dollar yen, and then I'll head over to the Aussie yen. If we've got time at the end, if there's a pair that you'd like me to have a look at that I'm not covering, or an instrument, just shout it out. So just going to go to the monthly chart first of all. And there's a couple of areas of resistance. 116.46 that we failed at, monthly resistance. And more importantly, there's this top here, 114.72. That has been a major top for a long time before we tried to come above it for a while, but we're now back below it. And there has been a major range for a long time here, and we're back in that range. All right. So I don't know whether we've had a false break above this top just here at set 114.72. For a while, it was looking very strong at the start of the month. Potentially, maybe we're going to move up beyond this level of monthly resistance to the next one. But at the moment, that seems to have halted. But the trend is still up on the monthly. But it's a question of, are we going to hold and fail back and trade back down into the range? So at the moment, 114.72 is holding the market. And moving to the weekly chart here, there's 114.72. There's also a weekly top there, very close to that, 114.69. And we dropped well below it last week. We've come back above it early this week. and then we've obviously traded back underneath it once more. And potentially there's a little bit of negative divergence there. This little peak here on the MACD is fractionally lower than the last peak, yet we have a higher top. So there's a bit of negative divergence there. Might be a precursor to a complete reversal, time will tell. At the moment, though, the weekly trend is up because we're moving down from a higher top. But are we going to come down and test weekly support down here? So if we're going to continually hold at 114.72 monthly resistance, we may well trade back down to 112.52. The daily, what you'll see is yesterday we put in an inverted hammer, almost a doji. It's kind of a cross between a hammer and a doji, rejecting at the 114.72 resistance level that I'm discussing. Stephen, good evening to you as well. And once I saw that rejection this morning, then I was looking for an opportunity to think about selling down from 114.72 on a retest. I posted that area in the Telegram service. So just moving down time frames, you can see that earlier in the day we came up on the 4-hour, traded through a fraction, but then the 4-hour trend rejected and has turned to down here. I'm going to move this to a 15-minute chart. So we've been having this move. We had this move down. In fact, just before I put that in, earlier in the day, so what I did in the Telegram service was I highlighted that area, central pivot, and that resistance area as an area where the market might hold. Did trade above for a little while, but then you can see we did get, a trend line break, move back below, and we had a nice run down from there. Moved down, currently it has moved down to about 50 pips of a run down, maybe from the entry point of a break of a trend line, and just having a bit of a rally back up. Now the 4-hour trend is down, so we've dropped. I think we're just having a rally back up at the moment, intraday, but a fib from the high to low, and then what are we doing? If I wanted to trade that pair again today, monitoring the 62% level or the 79% level for failure for a turnaround back in line with that 4-hour downtrend. So that's a downtrend once we got down to that low on the 4-hour. This is a corrective rally, and earlier in the day we failed at that key monthly resistance level. So whilst we're holding below 114.72 with some conviction, my bias is to the downside. If we start to hold above that level, then my bias will probably have to change. All right, but at the moment, because we're faltering and holding underneath monthly resistance, then my bias is to the downside at the moment. And we're seeing again strength across the EM pairs. All right. Okay, and so just pop it back up to the daily chart. At the moment, failing at that 114.72 level. In terms of where price might go to, if that trend continues down, last week's low, 113.47 is the first support level, barrier. But if we get a continued trend, we may well see price coming down to weekly support. Right, it's at 112.52. Okay, so if this continues, because this is potentially here putting in a lower top to the last top. If we break that low, then we have a lower bottom, lower top scenario on the daily. And then, it's going to negotiate that support level and this support level 113.13, but the stronger level on the chart at the moment is 112.52. If we break that one, then just moving it back up to the monthly here. If we break that level just there, we could well see a long-term move back down to support over time. It'll take, 3 or 4, 5, 6 months to get down there, even if things speed up. But over the course of the year, we may well move back down to that level if we can't keep above 114.72. All right. Okay, that's the dollar yen. Aussie yen. I did some video analysis on this week. You can find it on the YouTube channel. Going up to the weekly chart. So we'll take a line or two off for the moment. And might just take that line off too. Hopefully what you can see is that we've moved down to a lower bottom on the weekly. that turned the trend to down just, and it's running back up to weekly resistance over here, 83.97, held, and starting to put in a lower top. And in my analysis that I did this week, what I'm suggesting is that this is going to put in a further down leg over time, coming down to test support. Can it break through over time? All right, now just going to put in weekly support. That's one level. The one that we're heading towards right now, almost on top of, is 82.01. So if this is a lower top and we're going to trade down, obviously price needs to negotiate 82.01. And then the next level is down here at 78.83. That's my, okay, say my short to medium target. If we can trade down to there, can we break through that level? We couldn't really last time. We tested it to the daily. So at the moment, my focal point is lower tops and bottoms, lower bottom, lower top, lower bottom. We may be putting in another lower top here. I was looking for 62 or 79% retracement up here, but it never came to fruition. And at the moment, we've had a negative day, turning into positive intraday at the moment. And we're not moving through 82.01 at the moment, but we might find that come the end of the week, we are moving through. So trend bias is down, looking for an opportunity to sell. Obviously, I don't want to be selling into weekly support. I'd like to be selling higher up. And earlier in the week, I had this fib drawn in, and we came back to the 50 level. I was looking for it to come into between the 62 to 79, or stopping at one of those two levels. Hasn't done that yet. I'm not sure if this has. I'm just going to double check. All right, we have just traded below that low of last week. So really looking for a retracement back up, I'd have to change my fib to the fresh low. So at the moment, I'm just going to take that off. So I'm just looking to see, can this break through? If it can't, I will draw my fib from that high. Well, might have to draw my fib from that high to that low. Depends what price does. In a perfect world, I'd just like to see this break through 82.01. If we can get a clear break through 82.01, then what you'd like to see happen is breaks through, comes back up at 82, becomes resistance, and then you can look for a trade down off of that resistance level. All right, down, and my long-term target's down here at 78.83. Now, you might be able to sell it on a bounce from where it's having at the moment. We'll just drop it down intraday. This could well come back up to the central pivot. That could hold. So we've held there once today. As well, what I might do is from yesterday's high, I could draw a fib down to the low of today. And then I could also monitor the 62.79 levels if we move further up. But the first real level to monitor is central pivot here, because we've held there already today. That could be the high of the day. This could just be a bit of profit taking. So price is moving back up and sellers are looking and waiting for an opportunity to resell at the central pivot point. When we get to the Aussie dollar in a moment, you'll see that that's been holding at the central pivot, I think 3 times today. And when we're dealing with a strong downtrend, in the case of the Aussie yen here, price often doesn't go much beyond or above the central pivot point. That's where the high will come in if we're dealing with a strong trend. So maybe, I know where I've got my fib drawn at the moment, but we have moved down from that high today. Maybe we're just going to go into this 79% level. But if we take out that high, then I'd be putting it up here. So it could hold at 79 here and start to turn around. I'd much prefer to see it come up to the central pivot, but you can monitor and see what levels you like there. To the Aussie dollar. And I did say it was holding at the central pivot 3 times, which it has done, but obviously it's popping up at the moment. This could hold at the 72 level. This is 4-hour resistance through this area here, which obviously isn't holding currently. So I'm going to go for the trends, but then I'm going to draw a fib in across that range there in a moment. So going to the daily, what we're seeing is that price has failed here on the bigger scale. Just going to pop up to the weekly. We've moved down to a lower point. We're having a rally last week. You can see that big weekly rejection candle, that weekly daily resistance. I'm anticipating a further move down from that area. So that's that area I just showed you where we rejected on the weekly. We've got weekly resistance over here, 72.89. Daily resistance here at 72.76. And the market at the moment is getting some form of support from weekly support here at 71.70. If we move further down, we've got weekly support here at 71.06. And this is monthly support down here at 69.91. So what I'm anticipating over time is this is the last big move down. That's the weekly leg down. We've obviously rallied up this way. And I'm anticipating that this leg there might get copied down that way. So I'll just move back to the weekly one moment. Okay, so that leg there may get copied down that way over time. So a long-term target would be this area of support and resistance. 66.71 is my long-term target. Of course, it's got to get through 69.91 at the moment. So to the daily. Daily is actually still in an uptrend, even though the weekly chart rejected up here. The weekly chart's in a downtrend. The daily's been up because it's been rallying back up from that big drop down. And it still is holding an uptrend in terms of its price structure. It needs to break below 71.29 to change the day chart trend in the immediate term. MACD looks like it's crossing down though. So that might be the first sign that that change is going to come. It just hasn't come as you're looking at price action. So my bias is to the downside with that rejection up here with a longer term move down. 4 hour. It could stay in this range that we've got formed here. We have a 4 hour downtrend. So you could be monitoring this pullback to the 62.79. If it does pop above these highs, then I'd be monitoring this whole range here. And so I can see the 79 is my resistance area at the top. So I'll be monitoring the 62.79. If we pop above this area, at the moment, we're not popping above there. So we may well just stay in that range that we're rolling back up against. So just popping above 72. 72 could act as resistance. The Aussie does like the figure numbers, but I would be looking at this area here today. I'd be looking at the 79% level as well. Does price come up to any one of those levels? Does it want to start to hold and turn around? But look left as well, there's some intraday support and resistance. These tops here. So that those resistance tops there formed underneath this support here. So we're kind of getting close to that area right now. So as well, that area could be a turning around area, but up at the 69 would be a good level to start to watch for it to turn. All right, Euro Yen. I've got a clear bias to the downside in this pair. Very much like the Aussie Yen, we've had a weekly move down, held on some weekly, monthly support, and we're having a rally back up, putting in a lower top here. And let me just take some of these lines off so you can see. So what I'm anticipating, like I was showing on the Aussie dollar just before, that's the leg down. We're having a rally, and maybe that next leg is going to come and get copied in on the move down there. We're putting in a lower top here. So if nothing changes in terms of trend changement, then this will move down over time. Just pausing because I've got something coming in. Aloof may want Nathan's email address. I did put it in the chat, but let me just do it again. There you go. All right, so I'm expecting a move further down here. All right, so let's get rid of that line, which doesn't want to disappear. So we've got this weekly area here that we've moved below 130.73.6. Expect that to be resistance. If we move back up, and I've got a weekly support here. So we have been above 73.6, 130.73.6 yesterday, but we're below it. So I'm hoping that's now resistance on any rally. Looking to trade down to test 127.92 weekly support here. And can we move through this resistance area over time? So daily, you're going to see that we've come down, put in the lower top, lower bottom, another lower top formed yesterday into today's trading. And we're just having some form of a bounce here on daily support at 129.63. So obviously we need to negotiate that level, 129.63, to move down to test 127.92. And any bounce up here could be held at any one of these two daily old support levels, becoming resistance. So there's 130.01. Put the first one in because that's where price is getting close to. Put the other one in as well because it could move above that level to the next one. That's at 135.12. All right, MACD's crossed down too. So just looking to sell a rally within that downtrend that we're seeing on the day chart. I'll be monitoring those two daily resistance levels for failure. To the 4 hour, we've had quite a long move down through yesterday. Now it could come up and hold at any one of these two levels, or within the fib range of that move down, it could come up to the 62 or the 79. I'm hoping it doesn't do that because that will erode most of yesterday's move down. And I'm short from up here. I got short last week at 131.31. So I don't really want that to pop up too high, but it may well do. To the 15. And what we can see is that the 130.01 daily level of resistance obviously lines up with the figure at 130. And intraday, earlier in the day, we couldn't get to the figure. So 130.01 area there, that could be a very good area to see the market turn around at. As well, if it wants to go high, we've got the central pivot, which is about 130.20, and that daily level of resistance at 130.15. So there's a couple of levels there that could hold the market as this wants to rally back up. But hopefully you can see from my analysis that the day chart and the weekly chart trends are down. So looking for an opportunity to be a seller at a nice key level of resistance. All right. Euro dollar made some gains last week. It's going to go to the day chart. This is last week's price actually moving up. And structurally on the day chart at the moment, it's still in an uptrend. Higher time frame trends though, if you go to the monthly, we're just having a month up, almost back to monthly resistance here. Is that where the market's topping out at? So whilst the day is up, the longer term trend is down. So I'm not that fussed about being a buyer. I'm more aligned to looking for an opportunity to sell at a good level, in line with the monthly chart trend, which is quite clearly down there. We may be coming down to test, down into 108.79 down to 106.35 over time. So the weekly at the moment it's a bit mixed. We've got a higher bottom here, but a lower top. And we were sideways here for quite a number of weeks. That's why a little bottom's popped in here. So MACD's crossed up. So we have been having to move up. But this week, quite clearly, we're negative. And as I was saying, the day chart structure here is still holding to the upside. So we could still push up here. You know, really for me to get excited about this pair at the moment, I probably need to see it move out of these two lines I've drawn in monthly support and resistance, because that's where it's bound between. And it's about 160 pip range. With maybe a fraction more than that. My mass isn't correct there. It's more like 250 pips range from those two lines. But I'd be more keen to put my crosshairs in here. See all this support here through this area up here, around about 11500, 11520, which is slightly above monthly resistance. Anywhere in that area, if we started to hold, I'd be looking for an opportunity to sell. At the moment, I'm just watching that pair. Even though if we move it to the 4-hour chart, you can clearly see we have been moving down. But even if this is going to continue down for the rest of the week, in the short term, if you want to look for an opportunity to sell this pair with the obvious move that we've been having down, the 4-hour trend is down. And that trend may continue down to come down to test monthly support. Look for price to rally and fail at, say, the 62 or the 79 and trade a 4-hour continuation pattern to the downside. All right, if the 4-hour trend turns up, then I would then be thinking that we're going to be moving back up to this resistance area. All right, so 4-hour trend bias is down within that range. So you could look to sell a rally if that pair interests you. At the moment, for me, it doesn't. All right, get into the pound yen. And this is starting to move into a trend. And there's a lot of lines here on top of each other because there's lots of monthly resistance in this area that the market's been testing and starting to hold at. So we have a top here, which is at 156.075. It's clear on the weekly when I get my lines drawn in. So that 156.07 line here. Right, I might just need a double check. Yeah, it's 156.075, that top. So that's that line, 156.075. That's that line. So that's a long-term monthly resistance level. Just going to change the number to the exact number. You can see that we held there previously. I've got a few more lines drawn in from the monthly chart. I've actually got 3 levels of monthly resistance that the market's been trading in. So those levels are 156.075, 156.598, and the final top up that you can see up here, 158.211. So over the last 2 weeks, I've been saying, as price has been in that area, that it's a key area of monthly resistance. It's a monthly resistance area between that 156.07 line up to the final line. Up there, for me, that's just not where I want to be buying, into resistance or at resistance. And there's a high chance that we could turn around over time. And what we're seeing there on the weekly is it's very range bound. We've got bottom of a range here, trading up to the top of the range, but obviously we're starting to falter there. And the day chart has put in like a double top here and put in a lower bottom, came up for a rally yesterday. It's putting in another lower top, and we are holding beneath that monthly level at 156.075. So as long as we're below, for me, 156.075, the bias is to the downside. And yes, the day chart trend is in a downtrend. So that's my direction. And if I just quickly hop back to the weekly, it's putting maybe a lower top here. Double top, lower top. kind of scenario. So we may be moving all the way back down. So to the 4-hour chart, sorry, I'm just going back to the weekly. If we do move down, the first barrier for a move down is this weekly top at 152.84, and then coming down to support. The lowest point of support there is at 148.45 for the monthly support line. Weekly support down here is at 149.009. All right, so won't get down there this week, I'm sure, but the first barrier in the way is 152.84 on the weekly chart there. To the daily then, and you can quite see that line there now. Moving down, another barrier in the way that you need to watch is 154.73.2, that top there. So those are the key barriers that you need to watch as price is moving down. Don't be selling into those. But if you're selling higher up and you start to see price holding here or holding here at 152.84, maybe you need to look to take profits. So at the moment for me, just moving to a 4-hour chart, I would want to be watching 156.07. If we can get back up for another rally there today, then that would be a good level to trade down from if it holds. It held earlier in the day. There's a central pivot here and that level of monthly resistance or support, now acting as resistance, and it traded down nicely. All you needed to really wait for was a trend line break, failure at the central pivot, the figure at 156, holding at that resistance level. Now this could come back up to that level and hold once more, or it could, what it could be doing 4-hourly, it's moved down. So that's that move down there. You could be watching the fib. Holding at 62 here, so that could just be an intraday 62 top for a move down. Personally, if I was looking to trade this, I'd like to be trading up here, but may have missed that opportunity already. So you can obviously pick your level yourself. 62 levels holding at the moment. Could come up to 79 later in the day. Could come up to the figure and the central pivot and resistance later in the day. Or tomorrow. So tomorrow, you know, we could still come and revisit 156.07. As long as we're holding at 156.07 on a further failure, the bias is to the downside. If we move above it, I don't know if my bias moves to the upside, but I'm not going to be selling in that. Well, I'm not going to be buying in that resistance area for sure. So it doesn't really turn my bias to be buying at the moment, but I probably don't want to be selling in that area. I'd like to be selling knowing that 156.07 is holding as resistance, okay? So anywhere above there for me, I don't want to be a seller. I don't want to buy in the resistance area either, all right? Pound dollar. Just going over the weekly chart. We have a cross up on the MACD. That's just reacting to price action though. Pure trend here is lower tops and bottoms. And we rally back up. This line here, which I'll just delete for the moment, is a daily line of resistance. So we've moved up. I'll show that resistance in a moment. We've actually moved up to a weekly level if you look left. 137.31. My daily level is at 137.35, so both are very, very close together. But structurally, it's lower top to lower bottom. For me at the moment, this is a rally. I'd have to break above that top for me to change my overall trend position. To the daily, just put that line back in. Thursday and Friday was held at that level. There we have an inverted hammer. And then we held at resistance and we traded down. Now, these two lines, these are weekly levels. Weekly support, 136.02 and 135.71. For this to move further down, price needs to break below 135.71 really. Structurally, as I said, the weekly trend is down, the day trend is up, high tops and bottoms here, but the MACD is getting very close to crossing down. So That cross down will probably confirm the trend change, even though price action hasn't changed its trend. But we have had 3 clear trading days down. And now the question is the 136.02 to 135.71 area. Is that going to act as support for a further move back up to 37.35? That could well happen. The more this is, if this gets a cross down though, that's less likely. I'm more inclined because the weekly trend is down. I'm just going to draw a fib in across this whole range. We obviously popped a little bit beyond the 79% level there, but now we are below it. We might pop back up to the 79. But my bias really is to position myself for the next move down on the weekly chart this way. Now, if you're purely trading intraday, I would be, day chart trend is still up. If the 4-hour trend turns back to up, then we may well see a move back up to retest resistance. To the 4-hour, you can see the trend is down on the 4-hour. Even though we're getting some support in here at the moment, that's the last move down. So I will be monitoring that 4-hour rally, watching the 62, 79% levels to see what price can do. So it is at the moment getting resistance at the central pivot. The problem with trying to look for maybe a trade down from the central pivot today, in line with the last 3 days of a reversal, is you're trading into this support zone from the weekly chart, because it's traded in and then popped back out. It is holding at the central pivot, but you're trading into support. Over time, it might break down through there today, but for me, it's just a low odds trade because you're trading into weekly support. All right, so if I could negotiate an entry at the 62 level up here on a setup, or the 79, I've then got ample room to trade down for a retest of the 136.02 level for a break below. All right, I don't want to execute so close here because I can see that support's coming in at the moment. So I don't want to trade too close to it. But further up, price can get up to the 62, start to falter, or the 79 and falter, then I'll be looking for an opportunity to sell. All right, New Zealand yen. I'll put that fib back in a moment. Weekly chart. I haven't changed these lines since I did my last analysis webinar. Like the Aussie yen, this has moved to a lower bottom. It's been rallying back up and it's been starting to put in a lower top. My trend bias is to the downside on that weekly downtrend that's forming here. It came up to, this is a monthly top at 79.21. There's another weekly top here of resistance at the market. Got above for a while, but it's fallen back below. And there's another level just here. So the levels are, this one over here is at 79.21, 78.64. And this one here that we're testing today, or this week, is at 77.96. So for the move to continue down, 77.96 really needs to hold as resistance. And like I've been showing you, that leg that we had down there, I'm anticipating will get copied down this way over time. Okay, so with that being said, obviously we need to negotiate this level of weekly support, 76.32. Then the next one here at 75.95, and obviously this one down here at 74.55. So make sure you know where those key areas are so you're not trading into them. And if you see price getting support, you might need to take profits on your trades. To daily, we're seeing a downtrend here forming now. Lower bottom, lower top, having a bit of a move up intraday. To the 4-hour, I had my fib that I just deleted before, drawn across this range here. All right. And we might pop up to the 62, the 79% level, lines up nicely against the 77.96 weekly resistance level. So if I was watching this pair for a trade, any opportunity today. We've got the figure at 78, we've got the 7% level at 77.98, and we've got weekly resistance at 77.96. So seeing price rallying fairly in that area would be a great area to trade down from. Don't know whether they can get there. I'll be watching the 62 level and that area that I've just drawn in. Trend on the day is down, and so is the weekly. So looking for opportunities to sell as rallies finish. Okay. And Stephen, you want to look at gold? Yep, I'm just going to quickly cover the New Zealand dollar. The New Zealand crosses by far, especially the New Zealand dollar, are probably the weaker currency pairs that we're seeing. All right, so New Zealand dollar weekly chart here. It's rather range bound, and it's been holding at this area of weekly resistance, 68.59. It's been oscillating above and below 68.04, this level of weekly support and resistance here. You can see it hasn't been doing much over a couple of months now, but this is a lower bottom. Okay, trend is down and it's holding at that level of resistance. Are we going to see, like I've been showing you, this leg here? Is this going to put in a lower top in this area here for a further move down? At the moment, if we get a move down, I'm kind of focusing on this level of support here at 65.12 as a short to medium or medium to long term target if we can move through this level of support here. So that's what I'm anticipating at the moment. But there's a lot of consolidation going on there on the weekly. To the daily, you can see it's been rather choppy. But last week, on a strong rally up, a bit like the Aussie dollar when it had its strong rally up to resistance, it held. It traded through, then held. Traded through Thursday, held Friday, and we've been trading down ever since. So this could be a weekly top starting to form and put in place. The day chart trend is still holding to an uptrend, but as I say, in terms of support and resistance and trend, for me, support and resistance trumps trend. So for me at the moment, I'm seeing failure at a key resistance area where a weekly top could come in and we could get a long move down from that top coming in. So even though the day chart is giving me still an uptrend picture, for me to get even slightly excited about being a buyer, I'd have to get above 68.04 with some conviction. And we dropped back below that yesterday and we're still below it today. So to the 4 hour, having a rally like we're seeing on the Aussie dollar, there's your 4 hour downtrend range coming up to the 62. 79 overlaps nicely with your weekly 68.04 resistance level. So you'll see on the 15-minute chart that yesterday over here, it dropped heavily down from that level. So if we come back up to the 79% fib, which overlaps with that level, I'm sure you're going to find sellers there. Now I can see the last 15-minute candle is rejecting the 62. So maybe that's as high as the market will go, is the 62 retracement of that 4 hour last move down. So watch the 62 and 6800 up to 68.04 there as levels to watch to trade down from. All right. Of course, if you're biased because you've seen the day chart is up and you've got a completely different view to me, then you need to be trading in line with that day chart trend. But for me, support and resistance trumps trend. I'm just expecting that the trend will follow and turn down after that failure that we saw last Thursday, Friday. All right, Stephen, you want me to have a look at gold? So let's pull that up as a final one to go through. In fact, just before I do that, just want to take note what's happening in the dollar index at the moment. It's still structurally down, but on the weekly chart, this will range up. We're pulling back to the 62 and an area of support. So whilst daily is still down, it's having to bounce at a key level. This could now come down, obviously come down. So in terms of trend on the daily, it's still down on the dollar index. I'm not sure how long that will maintain itself, but this could move down and then break through this area here. So always have a view of what the dollar index is doing when you're trading other pairs. And the reason why this has been moving up, there's been a flight to put money into US dollars. So that's been moving up because the S&P 500 has been moving down. I've discussed this, but we've got negative divergence here in the daily. As we're moving up to new highs, the indicator wasn't. And we've put in a lower top at resistance here to a lower bottom now. So price is just breaking down at the moment from the very, very high levels. Weekly trend here, just holding up, but I can see negative divergence as well here. Lower peak to the last peak. We just need to trade through this low here, 45.29 maybe, to really get the thing moving down. So this low here, that's the last high bottom on the weekly. If we can trade through there, that would be very negative for the stock market in the short term. So then we might see more US dollar strength. So if we see weakness on the stock market, what we're going to see is generally US dollar strength. We're going to possibly see yen strength because we move into a risk-off environment as well. We're already seeing yen strength across the Aussie yen, Euro yen, pound yen, New Zealand yen, and the dollar yen. So if we have another nasty day down today in trading and break the weekly low, we're going to see, I'm sure, dollar strength, yen strength. And then Steve wants me to look at gold. So my gold charts here. We'll do a top down. For me, the monthly is just holding at this top over here, and we're in a broad range of resistance support. We might be putting in a lower top here, a further lower top of resistance, which may suggest a move down. But overall, we are range bound. On the weekly chart, it doesn't look very pretty. Very difficult to determine the trend. Higher top, lower bottom, lower top. This is a higher bottom forming. Notably, this area of resistance here that we moved above held the market for a long time last year. And it looks to me like that level once more, it's the 1833 approximate level is holding the market here on the high. And this area through here is support. So we're starting to see a much more narrow range on the weekly chart. On the daily, support might be more from this low. Resistance up here, getting resistance from these highs to the left. And it is putting in a lower top at the moment. We have a lower bottom, lower top. So in terms of high time frame trend, maybe the week, what does it say the weekly was? Weekly's mixed because we've got lower tops, high bottoms maybe. And daily's got maybe putting in a lower top here. And the month is range bound. So just very difficult trending. It's not a trending instrument for sure at the moment, gold. So it's very consolidated. What I would say about instruments that are consolidating, the more length to consolidation, at some point, you're going to get a long-term trend breakout. But quite clearly at the moment, we're not getting a breakout. We did get a false breakout up here above the top of this range, but then we moved back in to the range again. So at the moment, it's very, very consolidatory. But what I would say is if we get a clear break, then we might have a very good trend on our hands, because the longer the consolidation happens, the bigger move we're going to get when we get one. So, we are consolidating on the monthly there. Is this a long-term consolidation period for a massive break higher? It could be a massive break lower, either or. Obviously, we can see that this major price point that got traded through for maybe 1.5 months, then the market was holding here. So clearly to the rejection, then we held. We are potentially here putting in a lower top. Anything above 119.16 is very hard going for the buyers. That's where the sellers are selling. So funds management, miners, however they're structuring the businesses and using options, etc., to make their businesses more profitable for exporting, etc., they're clearly selling up here and they're clearly buying down here. But long term, this is probably going to have a strong break one way or the other. As to which way it's going to move, I couldn't tell you. In the short term, I'm seeing that the price action is holding at that area of resistance that formed last year. It's about 118.33, and we're starting to form a lower top, lower bottom at the moment. So if I was looking to trade, I'm just going to move to the 4-hour chart. I mean, I'd have to just go by the bias of the daily chart, which is down. If we get above a clear break of 118.33, I'd have to change my mind. But at the moment, price action is just structurally showing you a downtrend. All right. So, but if I was looking at something to trade, I don't think it'd be gold at the moment because there's no clear trend. You know, if I go back to the euro yen, you know, I go to my weekly chart, lower, this is lower bottom, rally, day chart showing you the start of a nice trend unfolding downwards. So to me, there's no ambiguity about where I should be setting myself a trade. But whereas I look at gold, there's a lot more ambiguity because my higher time frames are very much range bound, or the weekly's mixed, monthly's range bound, weekly's mixed, daily may be turning down. It's a bit unclear. But obviously, if you're a gold buff, then you tend to stick to trading gold, and then I'll have to start to break it into a 4-hour chart. Structure that's in a downtrend still. Even then, it's not that clear. We've moved down to that point. We had a rally up to the 79% level. It's got some support at 38 here. It's bouncing back up to the 62. Difficult. When the market's choppy, this choppy price action in the middle of yesterday's trading, how do you trade that? It's very difficult. So it's even choppy intraday at the moment, as it is on the high time frame. So I'd like to, if I'm going to trade any instrument, I'd like to see trends, clear trends on the weekly and the daily, and ideally, yes, a clear trend on the 4-hour chart. And I don't like this choppy intraday action either. That's very difficult to trade. But it is, intra-week, intraday, intra-week, you can see here that we've had a good drop below 1820. Yesterday, when we come back up, 1820 here held twice. So maybe 1820 will hold again today, intraday. Looks like it's trading between about 1810 and 1820 at the moment. All right, so hopefully I don't know if that helps you on gold, but it's not a great trending thing at the moment. But I'm sure at some point, if we get a major decline in the stock market, the stock market, if I move back to it before we finish, if you don't know, then it's way overextended from the low that we had back in March 20. Going to go to the monthly chart. This low here when we had the COVID decline. That low price at 21.82. The market's doubled since then. So when a market doubles or goes beyond that, it's way overstretched at the moment and due for a correction. You can see perhaps we're getting railroad tracks here at Yeah, at this high level, this line here is a weekly level. If I go to a weekly chart, you'll see it. It's that weekly top there. So it's nothing to do with the monthly chart. It's from the weekly chart. We may be getting a candlestick pattern up here at these very high levels. And I've got the monthly low drawn in here at 142.68. This could pull back to 142.68 if it wants to correct. If you break below there, the next major low is down, or the next high resistance to act as support will be at 133.96. I don't know if we can get such a major correction, but it's possible. This has been a massive upward move. When things get way overextended, they can correct very quickly. So if this does correct very quickly, gold might want to start to move up as a hedge. But at the moment, gold's obviously very much consolidating. So if the picture changes in the stock market, then the picture on gold could well change too. All right, everybody. So hopefully my trend analysis and the levels I'm watching are helping with your strategies. If you want to watch the recording, this will be on our YouTube channel tomorrow. So if you head over to ACY Securities Australia, just go to the home page or the video page. I tend to go to the video page. That's live streaming at the moment, but tomorrow you'll see the recording, so you can watch the replay if you want to and check your levels. All right. And if you are on YouTube right now watching, apparently 2 people are watching. Thanks very much for attending. I can't see the chat, so I'm not able to answer any questions if you've been asking them. But if you do want to attend the webinars and chat to me, all you need to do is come to acy.com education webinars, just register, and then you can chat to me in the live webinars, or you can come along to any one of the education webinars too. All right, so before I wrap up, tomorrow I'm going to go through how to determine the market trend across multiple timeframes, 8 p.m. Sydney time. All you need to do is come and register if you want to come and see me and spend some more time with me tomorrow. I'd love it if you would. So before I go, if you've got any questions before we conclude, just type in. Happy to answer anything, whether it's to do with this evening or anything else. If you've come in midway, in terms of the Telegram service that we're now offering as an educational tool to complement the webinars, if you want to get access to that, then I'll just pull it on screen. If you contact Nathan Bray, so nathan.bray@acy.com, email him, he'll contact you about getting access. All right. All right, no questions are coming in. So what I will do, I think, is give you a final thank you for attending this evening. Thanks very much. It's always welcome. And have a great evening or a great day wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Brendan's asking me, Brendan, if you want to get access to yesterday's recording, if you send me an email, there's my email address, duncan.coop@acy.com. I will give you the link once it's available. All right, so if you email me, I will email you back with the link when I have it. Okay. I'll just put that in the chat. There you go. So just send me an email. All right, everybody. No more chats coming in, no more questions. So thanks very much. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everybody.